Well, Kyle,
Yes, Garrett.
there's only one shadow left to bring before Endwalker.
The Wall of Dungeons.
It's time to return to the Wall of Dungeons because we haven't ranked the Shadowbringers patch dungeons yet, Kyle.
It's a bit different. It's a different feeling, right? After Stormblood, all the optional dungeons, the hards still existed. Everything we're doing today is strictly MSQ, which makes it feel kind of like the line at Disney in some regards. Some of them are awesome, but some of them I think don't want to steal the thunder of the thing coming up.
I'm with you.
So here's the question. We have our foolproof dungeon ranking system of music, overall vibes, and bosses. Maybe showing my own opinion here, but is the Hero's Gauntlet slightly less dramatic, complete feeling as our old dungeons would have been? Because Seed of Sacrifice sits on the back end. Does it maintain one tone because it's more of a journey?
It's breaking the rules of the wall, Kyle, and I won't allow it.
Okay, the rules of the wall are maintained. Let's get into it.
Let's begin at probably the lowest ranked dungeon today.
Damn.
Grand Cosmos.
Wow. Wow.
Probably. Let's, it's also, it's 5.1. It's also probably the least interesting patch of all of this.
It's a regathering. It's a call to action. It's to get people back into the game. The farming's on. The expansion's underway.
The Angelos are being carved out of clay.
Go, Angelo!
Yeah, the Angelo business. Yes. We had to go get help on the... Wait, this is all story stuff. We're not supposed to talk about that. Hang on. Back it up. So what is your favorite land at Disney World, and why is it not?
Here's the thing. I have notes here that Kyle has not seen. And you out there, if you are familiar with Kyle and myself, you might be thinking to yourself, I bet that Disney adult loves Grand Cosmos. And you're on the right track, and I appreciate you for internalizing character traits about me, dear viewer. However, Fantasyland is my least favorite Magic Kingdom land. It is, without a doubt, easily the worst land in Magic Kingdom. I do like Peter Pan. But that's where I'm coming from. This is our list, so these are our sensibilities, and overall, this is just, this is a pretty standard fantasy castle, which doesn't do a whole lot for me.
I like standard fantasy castles.
The Easter coloring is a big turnoff for me.
I think the visual journey isn't as interesting as some of our older dungeons. We don't really advance anything new.
No, the garden area reminds me directly of Mount Golg, and it's just a not as cool garden area compared to Mount Golg.
Okay, yeah, not as dramatic, not as Athenian.
Yeah, but this is all vibes. There's also the music to talk about, which I would describe as jaunty.
I would describe it as, I'm going to be real here, tower defense music.
I can't corroborate that because I don't like tower defense games.
It's got a little extra flair. It's got some extra energy, but it kind of sounds like Kingdom Rush.
Oh, wow, that doesn't sound like a compliment.
It's okay, it's just kinda...
You like tower defenses.
I do like tower defenses, so it's kind of chill, but I don't think it takes you on a journey.
For me, I would put this music just below inoffensive. It's starting to become offensive. It's just a little... It's a little too high pitched for casual listening. There's too much on the high register that I find a tad bit grating with this track, but I'm not gonna lie to you, there's something about this track that I cannot help but bob my head to. It does make me bob, and that's a positive thing, but I would never put this track on outside of the game, which I have done with quite a bit of Final Fantasy XIV music at this point.
I think the bosses are the best part of it. These are fun. You got Lug in Disguise.
I'm about to agree with you, but for the Seeker of Solitude, I will say the biggest compliment I can give it is it's a boss fight. It is wholly forgettable in its mechanics.
I do like Mind Flayers, and it kind of has some Mind Flayer energy. And
I like the model.
Yeah, the model's kind of fun. I think the real shining example is the plant one, which Leonan Sith.
Yeah, the second and third bosses completely save this dungeon for me. The vibes aren't really my jam. The music I could take or leave, but boss 2, Lianin, and boss 3, is it Lugus? Lugi? I don't know how to pronounce
Big
this.
Lugus, yep.
A Big Lugus, yeah, are great. They have really memorable mechanics, and if I'm going to ding the dungeon by comparing its garden vibes to the garden vibes of Mount Golg and saying Mount Golg is infinitely more interesting than this one, I have to bring up the fact that the second boss of the Grand Cosmos reminds me instantly of the second boss of one of my least favorite dungeons of all time. Not this piece of shit again. Never Reap. And it's way better. I like Lianin Sith. I like the boss model. I like the mechanics, and I like the theming with the grid of perfectly mowed grass spawning and us having to move the seeds out because otherwise they become plant monsters. What I think is, I just like that instantly more than Birdman is doing a purple fart, move the totem out.
The totem thing, yeah. Plus it's kind of like a vehicle mechanic practically, as you have to pick it up and move it. So not quite as fun as giving it a smack. Okay, so sounds like I'm getting a vibe from you that this could be cooler in your department.
Yes. I would put it above Don Meg though, because the boss mechanics are better in my opinion.
I agree. Don Meg has some really, really cute boss mechanics, but I think Grand Cosmos is more fun. You know what would instantly sell me as a theme? It's just a theme I like. Whenever you beat the final boss, the illusion breaks and it was actually a shitty castle. Like it was all messed up and full of cobwebs. Like not only Backlug was an illusion, but the whole thing.
If that was true, then I would want the illusion to break like in the third act of the dungeon, so the final wing looks different. Because that's another mark against this, in my opinion. I like when the dungeons have visual progression, and this just stays Easter Castle the whole time.
How much of this is Ghost Ballroom disappointment after years of Karazhan, though? I mean, do you just like haunted castles? Is it just, it's almost there, but it's not?
100%, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, how many people, our chat room, y'all love it when we compare this game to World of Warcraft and we make jokes about how this game is clearly better. Well,
yes.
I'm sorry. This is the lamest Ghost Ballroom I've ever seen.
You gotta at least have two ghosts shooting each other if you're gonna do a ballroom.
This is Ghost Ballroom at home. That's what this is. This is I ordered Karazhan on Wish.com.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Don Meg down, Grand Cosmos up, but still could be cooler.
Please direct any anger about my opinions about this versus Karazhan at Kyle because he baited me.
Oh, I guess I did.
It's time to talk about Anamnesis Anyder.
Okay.
Is that your answer? It's okay.
No, I mean like okay, let's do it. I mean,
all right. The way you said okay, it seemed like there was a little something behind it.
No, I'm willing to go pretty high on this one. I'm excited about the Floundering in the Depths. What a surprise of a song. This could have so obviously been just a kind of down, moody, underwater, kind of bubbly theme.
And it starts at like the first 20 seconds of the track. When I was revisiting this, I'm like, I know at the beginning we're swimming in on the back of a whale, and it's a really cool set piece. And then I started listening to music, and I'm like, this is boring. What a boring track. And then, Kyle, I think I love when Final Fantasy XIV is jazz.
It does it well. There seems to be a connection between jazz and like knowledge. Final Fantasy's knowledge music is jazz, libraries, seed banks.
Yeah,
there's some sort of connection there.
Yeah, I mean, you do need a lot of musical knowledge to be any good at jazz.
But I also think it works so well here because jazz is this free-form expression, but it also kind of has like an intelligence to it that's very organic. And that works well with the bosses we're fighting, which are these personifications in some regards, some of them, of thoughts. And some of them are just giant fish mothers.
Yes, I know why you like this song.
Why?
Because it sounds like Spy X Family. I know you're not supposed to say the X. I read with my eyes, though.
I mean, really, it's the drum part I love. Like, it comes in with those trumpets, maybe trombones. I'm not a brass expert.
I absolutely love this track. Also, I guess it's a rearrangement of the Sastasha theme, which I don't know why.
Well, fishmen, right? Sastasha's full of fishmen. We're investigating the fishmen for the fish mom.
Okay.
So there's kind of a connection there.
All right. I love the music. Let's turn to vibes. We've got like an underwater Amoritine memory bank.
Yeah.
With some serious visual progression. We start in like a coral cave and we work our way into another Amoritine structure. I love the vibes. I love the vibes of everything in this dungeon. Except for the monsters.
Wait, you don't like the Ondo? The like fishermen running around? They're fine.
I wanted to fight like way more of like the twisted memories of the Amoritines. And instead, this crescendo's, as you so eloquently put it, with a fish mom. And it just kinda left me wanting.
I really like it when monsters inhabit and make a home of a space that isn't their own. And granted, there's no like egg piles in the corners or, xenomorph ceiling decorations.
Oh, thank you. I'm right.
No, now you're going to make me MSQ it, because the whole reason we went here is because we're talking to the Ondo and the fish mom thing. And I know it doesn't matter, but there's a reason why it's full of just fishes. Now, I will agree with you that the expression of Amoritine ideas is encapsulated in a Cyclopsy kind of dude who had some interesting mechanics, but it was still just kind of like Cyclops dude, which wasn't
I have a note here. Kyclops, as it is written, or Kyle-clops is like how I like to say it in my head. My note here is, classic Cyclops are boring. I bet Kyle loves this.
I don't really like Cyclops as much.
Oh, really? I feel like you get so oh, no, you get excited about Minotaurs, which I also think are kind of boring.
Yeah, Minotaurs and Chads, yeah.
They're a little overplayed, in my opinion, but I don't have the D&D like monster manual respect that you do.
Yes, Minotaurs are how you total party kill a group of level 2s.
Making a note the next time I play a one-shot with Kyle.
Always watch out for Minotaurs.
That model just makes me think of the Copperbell Mines, which I never, ever want to think about.
I don't want to think about it.
No, I never want to think about it.
There's a lot of reasons not to think about Copperbell Mines too much.
The dungeon is boring and the lore is horrific.
Yes. But I like the fish mom. I think the water hands are badass that are happening on the side. It's a good graphic, and I think it made for a decently tensioned fight. Now, it's kind of a rehash of Hell's Lid, because it's kind of the turtle boss over again. But the turtle boss before Four Lords, it's kind of that vibe. It's not quite as fun, but still a little bit of tactics with the water hands. And I don't think it gives away the drama of finding the memory seed bank for the MSQ. I think this is a perfectly interesting dungeon that facilitates moving through a space that has been taken over by monsters. Could they go further? Yes, but I don't think it would service the MSQ discovery on the other side. Oh no, I did it again, right? Like, this is the struggle of these dungeons.
I think having some cool twisted memory that you fight before you get to the MSQ revelations of the post-dungeon cutscene would be cool. You don't need to explain it. Just show me something that I don't understand and it's cool and it ties into the Amoritines and not to the Ondo. When I heard that we were going to like an additional, like, deeper, more hidden Amoritine thing, I was expecting more tie-ins with the Amoritines and not it to be like a really kind of cut and dry, the Ondo sent you here, so you're going to deal with Ondo stuff.
I think there's a hole in our system right now, and it doesn't give points for the whale part, because the whale part's pretty cool and dynamic, like a vehicle ride.
That's part of the vibes.
Yeah.
I'm very positive on the music and the vibes in here, but not the monster
bosses and
monster model vibes. I don't really love the monsters, and I don't really love the monster models in here.
So we got a 2 out of 3, but of course these are scaled as well. These are on a spectrum.
They're literally scaled. They're fish people.
I say, for the sake of the music, I think this elevates to bottom of banger. If it's not, then it's definitely grindable. This is entirely inoffensive. I would run this. It's great.
I would windmill slam this underneath Malika's Well.
Under the well? Ooh.
Malika's Well has really good music. Yeah, the vibes are a little samey, but that final boss is dope.
And there's more of a complete journey in there. Yeah.
I really like the music here, though. I'm saying the music here is better than the music in Malika's Well, though.
I would agree to that, yeah. That's truth.
All right, above Malika's Well. I'll give you above Malika's Well.
Okay, I can deal with that.
The Moratine architecture like just wins. It always wins. It's a vibe. I like looking at this dungeon.
I think Banger is also a great representation of like complete dungeons, full packages, and this just is missing that little bit.
This is going to be a quick one because it's time to talk about the hero's gauntlet.
No. No.
What? Oh, you just think about how many times you died?
Well, yeah, okay.
I'm like, why are you saying, oh no?
Well, I just don't know which direction's going to be quick. Is it great and we're going to be through it very quickly? Or is it bad and you're going to throw it down there? I honestly don't know where you're going with that statement.
I think this dungeon's amazing.
You love it? Oh, okay.
This dungeon is absolutely freaking amazing. Yeah,
okay.
This dungeon's great. So let's talk about the music first. Where All Roads Lead is the track, and it is a cornucopia of restructured motifs from every zone in Shadowbringers.
It is a feat of references. It is a musical journey through the whole of Shadowbringers, and it encapsulates it so well. I mean, think of how excited we get hearing the One Avengers riff, right? They managed to pull off 5 different zones worth of music. You can definitely hear the electronic instruments in it, but I think it services in kind of a cool way all the teleportation techno crystal tower babble that is going on around you.
You know what it feels like to me? Because to me, it sounds intensely like not orchestral. Like they didn't actually go and get an orchestra to sit down and record this because they're trying to approximate the sound of actual string and wind instruments.
Yeah.
But more, and I'm sure there's a lot of that happening across the game. I don't know how often they actually, because there's so much music, there would no way it would be just so, it wouldn't be viable to go and get an orchestra every single time that they got to do a song. But I feel like usually they cover it up pretty well. Here, this sounds like N64 music. This sounds like
purpose,
really obvious MIDI approximations of instruments, but I don't necessarily. I like. It's not a bad thing. The beginning, much like Anamnesis Anyder, when I went to go revisit this track, I was listening to the beginning, and I'm like, this isn't doing it for me. But then, and here's where I want to know if you can help me. Whatever the motif is right before the Raktika motif hits. This song goes off at that point, but I actually can't pick out what the hell that melody is. I love that part of like, it's the biggest like crescendo of this entire, what would you even call this, like a compilation.
I think all of that electronic vibe you're getting from the music is entirely on purpose because we are on a tour of old Final Fantasy jobs. We are journeying through old Final Fantasies while also having this teleporter malfunction of sorts with Elidibus doing his business and stealing that power at the moment. So I think it really works.
I agree with you. It's not my favorite track of all time, but it's really serviceable. There's parts of it I absolutely love, and it's super, 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 super fitting for this dungeon.
The overall vibes journeying across the entire expansion, that's pretty badass. I think the spirits end up being a little samey, but that's the berserky kind of nature of what's going on. It feels weird to complain about that because
to me
they're
so unique though compared to fish monsters.
Dudes, it's just dudes to me, you know, a bunch of humanoids running at me, so I'm not as thrilled as I would be with actual monsters. Like, particularly the Spirit Thief, while having some really fun AoEs and a little bit of a dance to it, is just a dude. Necromancer, however, has a bit more monster business going on.
There's a mechanic they actually res bodies and have them attack us. The green AoEs that she leaves on the ground are look like green and brown pestilence. Like I'm in with it. I think this is especially within Final Fantasy XIV, I think this is still very classic Necromancer.
And Spectral Berserker just gave us so much trouble. I just respect him. I don't have anything else. I was like getting in the hole, but get out of it in time. It was an absolute gauntlet of a dungeon.
I feel like we know this, but we've never really talked about it. I completely disagree with you. I love dudes, especially when they're like class-specific dudes as bosses, because I love the idea. I love classes in RPGs, like any RPG. And admittedly, Final Fantasy, the one I'm the most unfamiliar with. I don't understand. I really don't know anything when it comes to jobs in Final Fantasy, unless it's in 14, because I'm now intimately familiar with what's going on in 14 and its job system. But it didn't matter. The Spectral Thief, I'm like, 2 daggers. That's a rogue-looking dude. Looks very thiefy, looks very roguey. I'm into it, and it's a good dance. I like the mechanics. It's pretty classic, but it's a good dance. I would take this over the first fight in Easter Castle. I think this has a better dance to it than whatever's going on with the mops in that one. Spectral Necromancer, I think it's, again, very memorable because bringing up friggin' corpses, which is, we just don't really see or mess around with the concept of a Necromancer a lot in Final Fantasy XIV. And Spectral Berserker, by that point, I'm already in, I've acclimated to the temperature of the water, which is we're fighting class-based dudes that represent these classes. When you get the close-up of the Spectral Berserker, I'm just like, oh, this boss looks like he's gonna just absolutely wreck our shit, and wreck our shit he did.
And they're doing a little bit of the Gimlet Dark, animatronics on the side thing, and it works. And you see all the zones that you loved over the course of the expansion, and you have a wonderful time. I don't think it can compete set piece-wise with my own personal interests and make it into epic. But where would you put it?
My initial thought was epic, but I think I like Mount Gulg better.
Ooh.
I'm splitting hairs. I really like these two. I think they kind of both show up at similar points in the story. Mount Gulg is kind of this surprisingly big climax before the actual climax, if that makes sense.
I feel you.
And this feels climactic, and whatever, you've been doing it, I'm going to do it too, damn it. After this, we know that we have Seed of Sacrifice Trial to look forward to. So, to me, this is so similar to Mount Gulg in a lot of ways, but I think the spectacle of being on a flying mountain that, while somebody freaking manifests Roman columns and terrifying statues into being, I think Mount Gulg just slightly ekes out for me over Heroes Gauntlet.
I'm happy with that. We could sit here all day and debate Cortana Ravel, Academia Anyder, and the Heroes Gauntlet as to where exactly it'll go. But for speed's sake, let's go ahead and make some room.
Get your theremin out, because it's time to talk about Matoya's Relic.
That's the radio tower where you move your hands between it, right?
Yeah, I think there's only one prong, but yes. The only thing I can think of is the best season of American Horror Story, which is Coven, because one of the witches played a theremin.
I mean, how can you disagree with anything even slightly Banjo-Kazooie-esque to me? This is so... everything's bouncing, you're a little pumpkin making your way through the haunted house, and you're 8, so it's actually kind of scary. I love Banjo-Kazooie soundtrack so much. I'm sure it is a massive simplification for those who know what's going on in this music, but I think the Witch's Cauldron level is fabulously themed.
You definitely were older than 8 playing Banjo-Kazooie, but your point stands. Again, it really works for this dungeon. I prefer the original arrangement of Matoya's Cave because it's like weirdly beautiful sounding for the theme of a witch, but this is a very, very whimsical take on that fits a very whimsical dungeon.
And it's a nice tonal piece. Like, Matoya's smiling the whole time. Everyone's kind of having a good time working on their pork. See, we're getting together all the ingredients. It is a positive experience.
Overall vibes, Magic Adventure Cave. How do you think I'm feeling about this, Kyle? Because I have opinions about witchy things.
Because you like Tim Burton?
No, I just like Halloween in general.
Yeah, okay.
Just like spooky
those two go hand in hand. Tim Burton, Halloween.
I mean, you're not off, but that's overly specific for a man that just keeps up Halloween decorations all year long.
Yes, if I see a giant skeleton in your yard, I'm going to massively assume that you enjoy Tim Burton movies.
They were in stock at Home Depot over the weekend, and we seriously, for at least 5 minutes, debated, should we just have 2?
Perfect. Another one. Perfect.
However, Kyle, here's what I think about the overall vibes. This is cool, but I like Anti-Tower better.
Anti-Tower is more of a linear journey, and I'm with you there. I think something that could elevate this up a level would be when we return to the main room if we saw things cooking a little more. We saw the results of getting those different ingredients really personified outside of a bit of smoke and business. I like revisiting the main room because it builds for the final fight, and the final fight is very wacky. But it works because tonally we've set that this whole way. There's absolutely a world where this could be more haunted cave rather than this spooky haunted cave, right? But you can see it working, right? Particularly with Mudman. Mudman is kind of creepy, but with the Shadowbringers music still playing, with the billiards mechanic that is actually pretty fun, it's just a good time. You get to Nixie. The cutest little, like, water elemental thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a Meryl-looking motherfucker.
But it has a great mechanic where you have to, like, get up on the cloud to avoid the big pipe business.
I legitimately think Nixie is one of the best bosses mechanically that we have seen so far in a dungeon. Like, that fight it goes so much harder than it needs to. I really didn't expect it to be that memorable. The vibes are solid. In terms of like Matoya themed dungeons, I think the Anti-Tower is just a much larger and more memorable set piece. And then the bosses, visually, I don't really like them. Mudman, I like that. Mudman's kind of creepy, so that works for me. Nixie's absurd, and we peak absurdity with the Queen Pig at the end. However, in practice of actually playing and fighting these bosses, all of them have really strong and memorable mechanics. Like, maybe Mother Porksy gets last place between the three of these for mechanics in my mind, but it also has really, really strong, like, dance dodge mechanics.
Agreed. It goes surprisingly hard, and that's just Final Fantasy in a nutshell.
Yes. I would start the bidding at grindable for Matoya's Relict, because I would be happy to get it, but I'm not sure it's a dungeon I would show to my friends I'm trying to convince to play this game.
No, you would need to be invested. You'd have to be like, oh, Matoya, awesome, can't wait for it. Ah, Y'shtolapillo, what's that? You have to be
I forgot about the Y'shtolapillo. Never mind, banger. It gets banger for Y'shtolapillo.
Advanced to banger. Well, now we're arguing if it makes it above Holminster Switch or not. I think grindable is a good place for it, and I think it goes above Malik as well.
Yes, yeah. For me, it just the boss mechanics alone puts it above Malik as well.
As much as I love buckets of fun, there is an advancement.
Maybe a Niter?
Maybe would you go a Niter?
I don't know.
I
really don't care for the bosses in Anamnesis Anyder, and I love the bosses in Matoya's Relict.
You gotta give up the jazz, though, and the...
Moritine architecture wins. Sorry, that's just gonna be the theme of today.
And we love lava, and Technicolor Dreamcoat lava looks great, too.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Volcano.
It's Volcano, yes, we didn't talk about it.
That's gotta be the funniest thing I've seen written in chat in a long time. You ready to bring it home?
Let's bring it home.
Paglth'an is up next.
Paglth'an.
Paglth'an? Paglth'an.
I think I'm waiting for you to convince me on Paglth'an.
Convince you?
Yes.
You don't like Paglth'an?
Well, I'm torn. Because leading with the music, it didn't capture me, the music. It's apparently a arrangement of Pitfire and the Brotherhood of Ash theme Smolder.
I don't know what any of that means.
No, I don't know what that means
songs?
either. It's Uldalian, it's Lizard Folkian, it's of this area.
Yeah, I don't remember either of these tracks. I'm not an Uldan devout like you are. But
I don't remember.
This track I'm super nitpicky about. I feel like my opinion isn't going to be any fun.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I love how hard this track goes, but I also kind of want it to go harder. It's too flowy for a song that has this much metal influence. The drums just kind of keep doing a rock band medium thing, while the guitar would have been better off with like some blast beats or some double bass stuff going.
Rock band
The
medium.
drums just keep going. It's too flowy. It's a
Yeah.
little more intentful percussion, please.
I think it's intentional, and I think the whole dungeon is supposed to leave you unnerved, to put it one way. There's an element of it to me that feels incomplete, and it's supposed to because it's the tease for the upcoming Endwalker business. Like defeating Lunar Bahamut is not a climax because you go, was that it? Were we supposed to do that? Did we do the right thing? Do they want to be destroyed? There's an element of it, and I think that works very well for the purpose of the story, but it leaves the dungeon a little weird. And the immediate comparison I make in vibes is Gimlet Dark, because it's once again an animatronic kind of set piece that you're moving through. And I think the story it's working through with the dragons is very interesting. I really like Coil's Bahamut and the whole dragon lore there. So quickly dealing with an entire faction's worth of enthralled peoples in the forms of these dragons fighting alongside the Garleans is very, very interesting. But it's so left in the air when it's over, particularly Alphino kind of staring at the tower, that it just kind of, it gives me the sad look when you finish a dungeon, right? We don't celebrate when we finish dungeons anymore. We just kind of go,
We're lost in thought.
And that's how I feel about this dungeon.
Think of the children.
Yeah, that's how I feel about this dungeon. When it's all over, I kind of felt like just kind of mixed up and gray inside.
I would love to see this dungeon again, which is really my most basic barometer for if I'm feeling positive on a dungeon. Would I want to run it again? And yes, I 100% want to run this dungeon again. I also think it scores really, really high in the vibes category because this might be my favorite skybox in the game ever. So far. I think Paglth'an does for terrestrial skyboxes what the end of Amarot did for astral skyboxes. This is the most gorgeous sunset that exists in Final Fantasy XIV that I've seen so far.
I agree with you. I think that it is not as extreme in the tonal department. We don't go from lava cave to outdoors to starry night or whatever. We basically move towards one sunset, but as it builds and we get on those flying mounts, there is a reveal of that sunset that you know has been coming. It gives you exactly what you wanted. It completes that journey visually.
Yeah, you have a gorgeous sunset, but it is being obstructed by this threatening alien-looking tower structure.
Yeah. And
I love it. At the risk of sounding too gushy about this one, it's the point in the story you're at. In the artfulness of it's like we have successfully gotten everyone back from the first, and it's beautiful and it should be celebratory, much the way the sunset should be, but it's ruined by Xenos and Fandaniel and the plan that they are currently hatching.
The setting sun on Shadowbringers, the moon rises on Endwalker. Yeah, there's some poetry going on there.
It's great. I love it. I think I like this more than Gimlet Dark.
Yeah, the arrow-shaped Coil's Bahamut boss is fun. I think the Magitech Fortress is really the standout boss in this regard. We just talked about Nixie and the platform thing. I think they learned a lesson from that and said, this is fun, let's do it again. And it is fun, let's do it again.
I wrote down in my notes, jumping up and down. Clearly, I love it.
Yeah, climbing the StarCraft Fortress. It just felt good. And then Lunar Bahamut brings the usual Akmorn and dragon attacks that are just enjoyable and always set off my brain with happy little juices as I go, ooh, I know that one. Ooh, I know that. Ooh, I know that ability name.
It's a busy dance for a dungeon boss, and that made me really happy because I was like, it's Lunar Bahamut. Shouldn't this be a trial? I was a little surprised it was the final dungeon boss, but also I think it does a good, again, to kind of get into I think the mentality they're trying to put you in here is that you as a hero have grown.
It's a perfectly serviceable journey. It's a beautiful sunset. I'd probably put it in banger, but I like a lot of bangers.
I like a lot of bangers too. My first thought was epic, kind of like Hero's Gauntlet, but then I looked at everything else that's in here, and I think what I think will be a controversial opinion is that I think I like Academia Anyder more than this, which means I think I like the Hero's Gauntlet more than this, which surprises me because I really liked this dungeon the first time I saw it. But at this point, dude, I really think from Holminster Switch up, we are just in an exercise of splitting hairs. Shadowbringers has some of the most impressive dungeons I have ever played in any MMO. I love this expansion and I love its dungeons.
So above Academia Anyder? But below Hero's Gauntlet? I think
below Academia Anyder.
I'm
but
okay
above
with that. I think
Katana
that's
Rabble.
less scandalous even too. So
You
let's
think
do
so?
that.
I think people are going to come for me. I think a lot of people like this more than Heroes Gauntlet.
Paglth'an?
Yeah,
I think I lost points on the music.
I agree with you, but I think we're going to make some people bummed.
All right. Living right there. I like that.
Is this it? Nothing went into the epic here.
No, well, I mean, look.
Nothing
what's
went
an
into the
look,
epic here.
Look at what's an epic. I mean, look at just how do you compete?
The Twinning's music and final boss mechanics are on another level.
And Amarot's Amarot.
And Amarot is my favorite. Is Amarot my favorite dungeon ever?